I feel like if we can ask ourselves this question, there's some questions that I would speak on. If you can ask ourselves these questions every time you encounter something, you'll be able to give a proper judgment of what might have happened to get the full context and to be able to interpret the observation properly. These questions don't mean that you are not thinking for yourself or you refuse to make a decision. No, you can still make a decision, yes. You can still do, but they help you make better decisions. You get, when you can ask yourself these questions, you end up making better decisions. Like things like, what am I observing? You need to ask yourself, okay, what am I observing? You need to separate what you are observing, which is what is happening, from the story that you are cooking in your head, which is what you are interpreting it to mean, or what you are assuming. You need to be objective. What am I observing? Okay, I'm observing a man running. As simple as that. You're observing a man running. Now, the interpretation now that you're ahead will be, I'm observing a potential thief. I'm observing a man that stole something. That's what you might start interpreting. So you need to be able to separate your interpretation from the observation. Be objective. What are you observing? To ask yourself that question. Number two, what information is missing? Okay, I'm seeing a man running. Yes, but what else don't you know that has happened in the past before you now saw the man running? So you need to ask yourself this thing, like, is there anything that you don't know that happened before you observe what is happening now? So you'll be able to know, okay, based on that thing that happened, this is the reason why this is happening. So you have a clear picture and you can understand what is happening way better. Ask yourself again, what assumptions are you making? Because everybody makes assumptions based on what they observe. So you need to be able to cross-check what your brain is telling you. What else now could explain what you've experienced? You need to ask yourself that question also too. Are there other possible explanations for what you've experienced, or is what you're assuming the only the only explanation for what you experienced? Because if you only have one explanation for what you experienced, that means you're not moving based on facts, but you're moving based on assumptions. And you've already assumed only one thing. Maybe it's probably based on what you've experienced before, something that you've come across before. Your brain tends to use that, your past experience, to try and judge when a similar thing is happening. And although it is smart, it is wise to be street savvy, because there's some places you'll be in, you don't need to experience everything before you know what is going to happen next. As some environments you'll be in, you need to be very quick in making decisions. So is something that you need to apply wisdom in. It's not every time you need to know the full picture before you know you need to do this. Based on where you are, based on what has been happening in that environment, you can tell what might happen to you when you be in that environment also too. What is the larger context? That is, what is the bigger picture from what you're not seeing? The bigger picture now will come when you know what happened before. You already know what you witnessed. Then you now know what happened after you witnessed that. So you now put those three together. That will give you the bigger picture. So that bigger picture now is what will give you this clarity on exactly what happened. Then you will understand, okay, this is what is happening. Then on that point again to look at is, who is providing the information for you? Where are you getting the information from? Are you getting the information from your first person view? Are you the one observing what happened? Are you the one that is witnessing it, or somebody is telling you what happened? Somebody is pointing out to you that, I heard, I was told, I decided. If someone is the one telling you something, that means that information now is not a first-hand information. That information is from another person, and that person that's telling you that thing, that might be telling you that thing based on what he's interpreting, and his interpretation now might be wrong. So you don't need to conclude based on things that you are not the one that is the source, when you're not the source of an information, that information that you're getting might not be the full context, then what will change my mind? You need to ask yourself, can any other thing change my mind or change my interpretation of what happened? Because there's one thing that you should be aware of. If nothing can change your mind on what you interpret, that means you are affirming something. You are affirming something that you've already interpreted. But if something can change your mind, that means you are open to getting more context of what happens to actually understand exactly what is happening, or to have a clearer picture of what exactly is happening. Okay, so you shouldn't be too firm on things you observe, because what you're observing is just what is happening now. The context of what happened before is not available to you. The context of what happened after you observe that thing is also not available to you. So you shouldn't be too firm on this is exactly what happened. That's why when you hear cases like a man was accused of raping someone, or a person was said to have stolen something, you cannot come back later on and say that, oh, he didn't do that thing, or he was falsely accused. But if you already have a very firm stance, or this person did this thing, this person did that thing, when your stance is too firm, you won't even be able to realize that you made a wrong interpretation of what happened, and you start saying it as that's exactly what happened, and that will not be your final interpretation of what you observed. And you shouldn't be too firm on things that you are not too sure of, only if you have the full picture.